I know that judging this video based off the title, you might think I'm just going to sit here and spew about how I think the playoffs are boring and that this team is shooting all these free throws and blah, 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 blah. That's not what this video is about. If you want to know why I think the playoffs are boring, why don't we just go ahead and look at the standings? Does anything here look boring to you? Anything look interesting or something that you maybe didn't expect? Probably not, because every single top seed in each series won their first game. Now, like I said before, that's not boring, but if we do want to talk about a boring game, we could talk about the Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics. This series had so much anticipation around it. I mean, these two have been facing up against each other like every single year, it feels like. Last year, it was the Miami Heat that beat the Boston Celtics on their Cinderella run. Then I feel like if you're on the Boston Celtics, you were really upset about that. Not only because obviously you got knocked out of the playoffs, but also because that led everyone to question what the future was for your team. And there's nothing more annoying than everyone speculating about things that they don't know. Me being one of those people doing that, which is why it was very reassuring and really nice to see Jason Tatum talk before the game when he was mic'd up and was pretty much saying how he was excited and that they have been waiting specifically for this matchup all season long. And based off their first game, you would guess that that was the case. And we do have to talk about obviously Jimmy Butler being injured, because that is what makes this series so boring. I just don't see any world where the Miami Heat can pull through and do this without Jimmy Butler. And especially with that loss being just their last game, it's not like they've had time to adjust and change their rotations and everything like that. This is the loss that just recently happened to you. You have to do this stuff on the fly. And if we want to talk about adjustments from the Miami Heat, maybe we could talk about the speculations that Brian Scalabrine had about the Miami Heat late in the game, because there was a moment where Caleb Martin had this very, very suspicious push that led a lot of Celtics fans and led Brian Scalabrine to think that maybe Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat were thinking about doing that. They were thinking about evening up the series by injuring Jason Tatum. Now, that is a very serious accusation, and it's not something I really want to entertain for the sake of this video, because I just don't think there's any point to it. We have so much more to cover, like the Mavericks and Cavaliers series, which everyone has titled to be the most boring series. Me personally, I disagree. I think it's really fun to watch Paolo Banchero in his first year in the postseason. I think that's a lot of fun to watch, see how he performs. But the one thing that you do notice about this team is that they are complete dog shit when Paolo Banchero isn't in the rotation. This team just needs so much. I think it's beautiful to see them in the playoffs and see them really this high up in the standings, but you can tell that their roster is very incomplete. And I feel like if you're a Magic fan, you should just be happy about where you are and the fact that Paolo Banchero is already leading you to such amazing places, because if this is where they are right now, I cannot even imagine how they will look as a team with a fully built out roster and everything looking good, because to me, they're still in kind of a rebuilding stage. Also, huge shout out to Jonathan Isaac. He has been amazing for this Magic team. Really great to see him fully healthy and back on the court. But if we do want to talk specifically about the game, it was the Cavaliers that really took things into their hands. I mean, there was a solid point throughout the game where it was pretty even. Things were looking good, but yeah, it was just late on when the Cavaliers took everything. I mean, the Evan Mobley and Paolo Banchero matchup was so much fun to watch. Donovan Mitchell was playing great. But yeah, I definitely don't see this series to be a boring one. I think that was a super dumb and lame title and label to give this matchup. I think it's actually a lot of fun to watch, see both these teams and how they can perform. And man, if we want to talk about having fun watching a game, Damian Lillard in the Bucks versus Pacers series today was the most fun player to watch. I'm pretty sure all first game of first rounds. This dude had, I'm pretty sure it was like 30 something points in the first half. There was no Giannis on the Bucks. He was doing all of this by himself. He probably felt like he was back in Portland the way he was carrying this team. This entire game just had to feel so good for Damian Lillard. The guy's been going through so much personally, and overall just this entire season not being near family anymore. He had to move across the country, entirely new environment. What the hell is there to do in Milwaukee? I don't know. And so it feels like he was almost waiting for this moment where you could genuinely lock into the game of basketball and really block out all the outside noise, and that is exactly what he did in this first game. He actually ended the game with 35 points. So yeah, actually looking at it now, he used up basically all of his good energy in the first half, because he ended the second playing 20 minutes and shooting just zero everything. Zero threes, zero field goals, nothing. But you really don't need Dame out there when you're winning by so much. That doesn't really surprise me. This team is going to look scary. I mean scary with Giannis back. Or at least you would hope so. Maybe the dynamic of adding Giannis back into this team changes things up, because we do know that Damian Lillard can do stuff like this by himself. He's been doing it his entire career. But Tyrese Halliburton on the Pacers, man, that was a rough outing. Granted, it was his first ever playoff appearance, so you know things are going to be rough, but that was just next level rough. At least Pascal Siakam showed out. But to me, it's the Knicks and 76ers series that is already the most fun to watch. But it was watching Joel Embiid drop 15 points in the first quarter. Then at the end of the second quarter is when he almost re-injured his own knee again by, of course, doing a off the backboard dunk. There's no other way that you'd rather go down. Thankfully, though, he saved the series by coming back into the game, and overall, it was just a blast. It was a back and forth battle. MSG was rocking. It's one of my favorite environments and one of my favorite arenas to watch. But man, the best moment by far was watching Josh Hart hit both of those clutch threes at the end. That genuinely gave me goosebumps watching that. And then the really weird decision by Nick Nurse and the 76ers to not foul with 33 seconds left. I think they were down by 5 or 6. I can't remember. Just no foul. And then they went ahead and let Josh Hart get the rebound. This is easily my favorite series so far, and you can't go without mentioning the absolute mob outside of MSG after all these games. This is what I live for. This is a round 1, game 1 win, and you have a fuck Trae Young chant happening outside while Trae Young is on vacation. This is why I love New York. But over in the Western Conference, I just got done watching the Thunder versus Pelicans, and oh my god, what a slugfest. Genuinely, a majority of this game, the score was like 30-32. That was what it was looking like throughout the entire time. The Pelicans, though, putting up a really close game without Zion Williamson makes this very interesting, because I actually don't know how long Zion is out for. I don't know if it's one of those other injuries that we've seen so far this season where it's like, oh, he's out for maybe 1 or 2 games of the series and then he'll come back and try to push for the win. I don't know how that's going to go, but the fact that we're only 3 points away from winning this game, if only CJ McCollum hit this absolutely disgusting shot attempt. I don't know what the fuck that was, but Zion possibly getting back on this Pelicans team would make things very interesting. There is also one possession of this game that I want to talk about, and that was when the Pelicans just kept on getting these boards in a crucial part of the game, and they just kept on throwing up the worst shots you've ever seen in your life. You almost thought they were just dicking around, and they thought the clock wasn't going. Oh, well, that's actually because the clock wasn't going, and the officials had to pause the game to add more time onto the shot clock, something that we have seen a shocking amount of times at the end of the season. That being said, Thunder vs Pelicans, so far a pretty entertaining series, although it would be even more entertaining if it was the Kings versus Thunder. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Kings fan. I genuinely believe that to be the truth. Clippers versus Mavericks genuinely disappointed me. The Mavericks are one of the teams I selected to come out of the Western Conference, or at least one of the teams that I'm cheering for because my team is out. And the way that they went in and just got bullied by a Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers team, it was really disappointing. I think I ordered food halfway through the game because I just knew it was over. I mean, we're seeing James Harden and Russell Westbrook lobs. Like, what is the point of even finishing the series? So I don't really have any opinions on this series yet when it comes to how I think teams can play or who I think is going to come out of it, simply because I need to see one more game. I need to see if the Mavericks make any sort of changes as to how they were getting absolutely pounded. Also, a very understated part of this game was that the Mavericks had a terrible first half offensively. Like, had the Mavericks actually made their shots in the first half and a couple, throughout the game, obviously, it would have been a way closer game. I mean, we're talking about in this first half, they weren't even maybe being guarded on some of these shots that should have gone in. It was disgusting, but of course, Luka is going to end with his stat line as always. So yeah, I'm curious and I'm waiting to see how another game looks before I really determine the rest of my thoughts on that series. The Timberwolves, though, versus the Phoenix Suns, what a goddamn game. Another one of my favorite series over in the Western Conference to watch. Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves are my favorite right now in the West. It's my favorite team. I love watching them. The way Anthony Edwards was just owning his favorite player, Kevin Durant, was so cool to watch. Genuinely one of the coolest things, not to mention the shoes. The low cuts were looking fire. But yeah, we all saw the clip of Anthony Edwards talking trash to Kevin Durant, and for him to say after the game that that was one of the coolest moments of his life because Kevin Durant is his favorite player of all time, and the fact that Anthony Edwards was even fanning out to Kevin Durant throughout the game because he couldn't miss, just such a cool story and so much fun to watch and enjoy as a fan, because you never know, maybe in a couple years it'll be me in Anthony Edwards' shoes and it'll be Anthony Edwards as Kevin Durant, because I can hoop. All right, let me stop lying and go down to the final series, which is the Denver Nuggets against the LA Lakers. I don't know what copium Lakers fans and the Lakers team is smoking on right now, but they never had a chance against the Denver Nuggets. This series is going to be a sweep. I don't think I need to sit here and sugarcoat it. There has to be a certain line that we draw for this Lakers team where we realize that their talent is just not anything near their opponent. And this year, I hate to break it to you, but the Los Angeles Lakers are complete ass. I'm pretty sure D'Lo dropped up a pretty shitty game too. You're not not gonna win against the reigning champs. I feel like there's nothing I have to say. The fact that there's Lakers fans that said they wanted the Nuggets in the first round. Are you fucking trolling me? Like, are you actually kidding? You wanted this? You wanted this shit? That being said, tomorrow is game 2 of the first round. So it'll be very interesting to see what changes are made because, ladies and gentlemen, it is the playoff. Things do not go the way they seem. Like, for all I know, the Lakers could come back and win this series. But if that happens, I'll give everyone who likes and comments on this video $1,000. Okay, we have a deal. All right, that being said, hope you guys all enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.